The distributive property. So the definition of the distributive property in words is that to multiply a sum by a number, we multiply each addend by the number outside the parentheses. This is a lot easier to understand if you look at it in terms of numbers or variables in algebra. So with numbers, we can see the number on the outside multiplies each of the numbers on the inside. And with algebra, you can see the same thing with the letters. A is on the outside of the parentheses, B plus C is on the inside, so we'll do A times B plus A times C. So that is the distributive property in a nutshell. When using the distributive property, a really great strategy is to draw arrows from the value outside the parentheses to each value inside. So if we use that first example with the numbers, I'm going to draw an arrow from the 2 to the 7, and then another arrow from the 2 to the 4. The arrows show what will be multiplied. So when I draw the arrows, that means we're going to be doing 2 times 7 and 2 times 4. We are done solving when all the parentheses are gone and all like terms are combined. You will often see a letter inside the parentheses. This is called a variable and is used to represent an unknown quantity. So in this little example here, we have a little x, that's a variable. The x represents an unknown quantity or an unknown value or an unknown number, kind of like a secret agent code name. So when you see a number in front of a variable with no spaces or symbols in between, this means the variable is being multiplied by the number in front of it. This number is called the coefficient and should never, ever, 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 ever be written after the variable. So a coefficient should always be written in front of the variable like this, never, ever like this. Okay? So for the problems using the distributive property, you're usually going to be told to generate an equivalent expression using the distributive property, or you may be told to simplify the expression. Either way, you're just going to do what you can to solve it as far as you can. So remember, a really great strategy is to draw an arrow from the number outside the parentheses to each number or term inside the parentheses. So I'm going to draw an arrow from the 8 to the 4, and then another arrow from the 8 to the x. Those arrows tell us what is going to be multiplied. So we're going to rewrite the expression as the sum of two multiplication problems. So the first one is 8 times 4, and then we have plus whatever 8 times x is. Alrighty, so now we're going to solve or simplify the expressions inside the parentheses. And we're going to go one step at a time so we don't rush and make careless mistakes. 8 times 4 is first, so we're going to do that first. We get 32. So we have 32 plus 8 times x. Alright, now we have to figure out what 8 times x is. Well, remember, x is a variable. We don't know the value of x, so it's 8 times something. And so that 8 is going to be written as a coefficient in front of the variable. So we have 8x there, and then we can't forget that 32 plus. Now, I can't do anything else. There are no more parentheses, so that's good. Now we look at step 4, combine the like terms. Like terms are terms that have the same variable. Well, 32 doesn't have a variable and 8x does, so I cannot combine them because they're not like terms. Therefore, 32 plus 8x is the answer to this problem. Now, even though this problem looks a little bit different, we really aren't going to do anything different. We're going to solve it exactly the same way. We're still going to draw an arrow from the number outside the parentheses to each number or term inside the parentheses. The only difference is the arrow is going the other way, but it still means the same thing. So now we'll rewrite the expression as the sum of two multiplication problems, and I would probably just do from left to right. So we have 5 times x plus 5 times 9. And remember, we're going to go one step at a time. So the first one I see is 5 times x. I don't know the value of x, so it's simply going to be 5x. And then we have plus 5 times 9. Well, that's 45, so we have 5x plus 45. Alrighty, so now we've solved or simplified the expressions inside the parentheses. We need to see if we can combine any like terms. Well, 5x has a variable and 45 does not, so they are not like terms. We cannot combine them. Therefore, the answer here is 5x plus 45. Alrighty, so I think you guys are ready to try one on your own. I want you to do this problem on your own with the video paused, and when you're done and you're confident in your answer, then I want you to press play to check your answer. So go ahead and pause the video, solve it, and then press play to check. The answer to this problem is 7x plus 7y, and I want to clarify something. Each letter that you see in this problem, the x and the y, they're both variables. Both of them stand for unknown quantities, but they're different from each other. They're not like terms. They don't mean the same exact thing. They probably represent different quantities. So in the last step, when we combine the like terms, we cannot combine 7x and 7y because they're not like terms. Yes, both terms have a variable, but they're different variables. We could only combine them if they both had the same variable. So if it was 7x plus 7x, sure, we could combine them. Or if it was 7y plus 7y, yeah, we would combine those. But 7x plus 7y, they're not like terms, so they stay separate. For this problem, number 4, I want you to do the same thing you did in number 3. Pause the video, try it on your own, and press play to check. The answer to this problem is 6x plus 8y. Now again, we cannot combine those last two terms because even though they do both have variables, they're different variables, so they are not like terms. Now I want to draw your attention to what we did up here with the multiplication. So I did 2 times 3x and I said that was 6x. Well, if I do 2 times 3x, that essentially means 3x plus 3x. Remember, multiplication is fast addition, right? Speedy addition. Well, 3x plus 3x, those are like terms. If I had 3x's on the left and 3x's on the right, then there's a total of 6 x's. So when I do a multiplication problem like this, 2 times 3x, I'm going to do 2 times the coefficient, which is 6, or 3, so 2 times 3 is 6, and then I'm going to write the variable afterwards. Same thing here, okay? I'll do 2 times 4, which is 8, and then I'll include the variable afterwards. So if that's confusing to you, don't worry about it. We're going to practice it a ton in class, and we'll discuss it in class. So that's it for this video, but you do need to watch the second video that goes with this lesson, which is on factoring the expression.